Hello, I'm Byron. Welcome back to Sid Meier's Civilization 3 Conquest. This is still the Rise of Rome campaign, playing as the Persians. The Macedonians are pushing back a bit. They've taken a city in Turkey. They've had the Ionian coast since the beginning. And I'm changing governments, which should increase my production a bit and help me to win the war. God, this is such a tough. I say this every time, but this is such a tough scenario. If you weren't locked at war, it'd be different, but you are. I don't know how Rome is doing it. How many turns am I in? I don't know. Anyway, today I want to talk about King Kong, which is my favorite movie of all time. There's the new one out about called Skull Island. I don't know if I'm going to see it or not. I think it's over in the theatrical run, but I might get it on Redbox. I love Redbox. I used to what I used to use Redbox for mostly back when I still now I guess, but is for cartoons, because I don't want to go see a cartoon in the theater because I'm afraid I might be put on some sort of list. So I have to get the cartoons from Redbox and watch them at home. Anyway, King Kong is I can't remember what I just said, but King Kong is my favorite movie of all time, according to my mother. I watched every single day King Kong, that movie. I don't really remember doing that, but it's a great movie. It has some of the best, some great shots that are just epic. And it's not even all about the monkey. Some of them are pretty cool shots just before. The monkey doesn't actually show up till I think halfway through the movie, and the first half is still a great movie without the monkey. The bit without the monkey. The first amazing shot is Fay Ray after she gets in the fight with the shopkeeper, and Driscoll comes and rescues her, and she's wearing that hat, that flapper hat. And he comes and she is all dazed, and she looks up. That's an amazing shot. That's the first. I have 6 listed here. And the next one is where they're in the captain's quarters on the boat, and Driscoll turns around. They're asking, "Where are we going?" And Driscoll turns around and says, "Did you ever hear of Kong?" That's not a great shot. And I guess it's not just visual. A lot of these are visual. I'm not a very visual person. I usually like talkie movies with where, you know, I don't have the attention span really to sit and watch a movie for 2 hours, because I just don't have the attention span. I'd like to watch it, so I like to do other things. That's where I'm going. I like to do other things and just listen to the movie in the background, and that causes me to enjoy the more plotty, talky movies than the action, visual movies. But some of my favorite movies are very visual, including this one. But that scene I just mentioned, "Did you ever hear of Kong?" It is great just because of the way he says the line. It's not so much the visual. Now Egypt's coming up on me here in the game. I don't know what the best strategy is for this. Oh, and the Scythians, they're in Civ 6, and they are so much fun. I'd like to read a biography about Toimiris. Is Tomiris? Apparently Tomiris is a woman, but I think in this scenario, it's the Attila the Hun sprite, or the Genghis Khan sprite. I can't remember, but I think that the name of the leader is Tomiris, and I wanted to read a biography about Tomiris, but apparently one doesn't exist. She's only mentioned a few times in a few history books from ancient Greece, and that's really all we know about her. I would love to find out more, because it just seems so fascinating. Anyway, the third scene I like is where they're shooting the test shot for the show, and she's looking up, and she covers her eyes and just screams. That is one of the best screams I've ever heard. And then the next three do involve King Kong, the actual monkey. The first great shot is just, I think it's the first time you see him, where she's screaming again, and he's being sacrificed to Kong, and it just the camera just zooms in and his face comes through the trees. That's a cool shot. And then the next one is where he breaks the gate open to the villagers after they've rescued Anne. Anne is the character's name. Anne Darrow. And is Driscoll Driscoll might be the love interest, not the Carl Denham. I was saying Driscoll earlier, I meant Denham. Carl Denham is the man who runs the show, and then Driscoll is the one who and then there is a sort of bad scene, but it's great. And it's not on my list, but it's sort of bad, but it's also great, where where Driscoll is talking to Anne, and he is, "Say, Anne, I think I love you." It's still amazing. It's not a love story, I guess, but as tacked on love stories go, it's the best, man. It's the best. And then the other scene I really like is just a long shot of the Empire State Building, where Kong is climbing it from very far away, and it just holds it for so long, and he's just climbing up it. It's so cool looking, and it's amazing. How am I doing at the beginning? I'm trying to see how much territory. I think they'd come up and taken a few cities. Our Roman people are admirers of our culture. That's interesting. Anyway, back to King Kong while this goes on. One of the things about it's an example of Deus Ex Machina, which is God from the machine. It's how stories it was thought were supposed to end back in ancient Greece, and that, where it's just there's a lot of problems, and then the gods come in and fix it. And really, the Seinfeld episode with the Bosco password for the ATM pen machine, it has it sort of does that. I mean, the interesting thing is getting into trouble. It's not so interesting seeing the characters get out of it, which was the theory behind that episode. And so it builds up to George getting in trouble and doesn't really show the consequences of the trouble or him in any way getting out of the trouble. Yeah, they're taking a few cities, they burn one to the ground, but it doesn't show him getting out of trouble, and it doesn't show like the quote-unquote gods fixing the problem, but that's basically what happens, I guess, at the end. They're really... So Deus Ex Machina, one, it's realistic. Problems are frequently solved by people who had nothing to do with causing them. And, yeah. And this, they come up with airplanes to fix the problem, which weren't mentioned anywhere earlier in the movie. No one is... I don't know. They were, I guess, a new technology at the time. And so was movies. So I guess that one is a bit of a head scratcher in terms of why they chose to write it like that. But it's a great scene, which is probably why they did it. The airplanes coming in and shooting the monkey. And there's part of the... this is right before the airplane scene. And it's that classic radio voice. And there's a guy on the radio with the classic radio voice going, "Calling all units, calling all units. A giant monkey is loose in the streets of Manhattan. That is all." And that's just a great little scene, which I loved. Let's see. I think I got the Romans on my side here. And they should come and at least distract some of the units. One of the things King Kong does is when he's loose in the village, is he starts eating people, except he's like the Cookie Monster in that he just puts them in his mouth and then spits them out. He doesn't actually eat the people the way the Cookie Monster doesn't eat the cookies. And that's pretty interesting. Yeah, and he steps on them and they get grounded into the mud, but it doesn't really seem to hurt them. There seems to be plenty of mud and soft, and they just, oh, that's slightly uncomfortable. But they don't seem actually hurt by being stepped on, because they just fall into the mud. And the planes, I have it written down here, the planes again. They're just really cool. The biplanes. And I guess most people who are familiar with the movie know that the people in the plane who shoot him down are the director of the movie and the guy who built King Kong armature, which I would love to have the armature of King Kong. That would be such a fun collector's piece to have. Is that piece? Gosh. Anyway, let's see. And I heard a story. There is apparently a guy who has it, and people who love King Kong go and look at it, I guess. But there should actually be two. I don't know if two still exist, but two different armatures were made for the movie, short face and long face. So I wonder which one this guy I've heard of has, and if the other one still exists, because many of them are not still in existence. I'm still exploring, trying to get... Gosh, I would love to play as Scythia. They released the Persians for the Civ 6, and there's some, I think, achievements based on Scythia and Persia together. I don't remember what the achievements are, but it would be fun. Did they do a scenario? I haven't read any of the Civ 6 scenarios yet. If they have Scythia, because I love playing Scythia. It's so overpowered. Apparently, it's the most overpowered Civ. There was, I think they fixed the unit selling exploit, but it's still overpowered. It's still the best Civ in the game, even without that exploit. They've gotten really deep in. I need the Romans. Come on, Rome. I think I said this with the fire robe, but the good thing about higher difficulty levels is that you can actually get other people who you're allied with to produce things and help you out. In lower difficulties, the AI allies are just as bad, if not worse, than your AI enemies. So you can't fight them. Oh, and Tomyris apparently killed Cyrus. That's a very weird story that I've looked at, because when I looked into her, I saw that, and that's really all there is about her. That's all we really know, is that she was in charge of Scythia while Persia was at war with Scythia, and she killed Cyrus and had him, dipped his head in a bucket of blood. And which one? I forget which one was in the Bible. Was it Cyrus? I could go, my Bible's right over there, but I have to get up in order to look at it. And I think it would take a bit more. Oh, I can actually look up on my phone. There's peace with Scythia. Oh, it doesn't show the name. I have to open up the, it's probably in the diplomatic menu, which I think we were just on, but I didn't think of it at the time. Google, who freed the Jews? Who freed the slaves? Who freed the slaves, Democrats or Republicans? Who freed Prometheus? Those are... Who freed Daryl? That's an interesting one. The Hebrews from Babylon. That's the fifth one. Cyrus. It was, I believe, Cyrus. There's a thing called Cyrus the Great in the Bible. Okay, I wonder if it's the same Cyrus. King of Kings, King of Persia, King of Asher, King of Media, King of Babylon, King of Sumer and Akkad, King of the four corners of the world. Death. They say there was something on the steppes, which is where Scythia is. I think yeah, it's the same Cyrus. The one who was killed by Tomyris and the one who freed the Jews. Death of her son. Yeah, Tomyris ordered the body of Cyrus brought to her, then decapitated him and dipped his head in a vessel of blood, a symbolic gesture of revenge for his bloodlust and the death of her son. Interesting. I wonder who I'm playing. Is it Cyrus, Xerxes, Darius? Oh, they're closing in. But this happened before. Oh, I wonder. I gotta check the score at some point on this game. I guess I didn't write enough about King Kong on my notes, but I have here the remakes, which are not good. I haven't even seen the whole of the 75, but it's a man in a monkey suit. Which, I mean, the effects, yeah, they're old, but they're so good. They're executed so well. That makes them just amazing. And they're utilized so well in a way that they're just not in, especially the 77, 75. It's sometime in the 70s, that version. And I was talking about Skull Island. 76. It's written here. 76. Skull Island, I guess it is a different plot. And I have here that the 2005 could have been good if it used an entirely different plot. Because it was sort of cool looking. And there. I think I might turn them around here, if I remember correctly. The 2005 version was very cool looking, and I could have, and I'm specifically thinking of the scene in Central Park where Anne and Kong are riding around in the ice. That's a cool scene, and it wasn't in the original. And it was very good, as opposed to some of the things on Skull Island. They go a bit out of control with instead of fighting a T-Rex, he fights 2 T-Rexes. Except he doesn't fight 2. Eventually a third one shows up, and it's ridiculous fighting 3 T-Rexes. It's just so cool. And I don't remember if he plays with the jaw or not. That was such a classic moment, is when King Kong plays with the jaw of the T-Rex he just killed. Oh, and I killed him with a sort of explanation for the whole, he's warm-blooded, he can't get that big, he quote-unquote cook himself. And that is that he's not warm-blooded, he's cold-blooded. That's because, see, all the other people, all the other things in the island are dinosaurs. So he evolved from the dinosaurs into a monkey, and it's not fur, it's down, which is on his body. Because dinosaurs had feathers. And it's more, and it's weird how scientists, every year, more and more dinosaurs had feathers. And the predominant theory is the T-Rex had feathers as a child, but he outgrew them as an adult. And I wonder, maybe he had them as an adult. And you know what, I was reading about sleep, the way sleep works, and basically it serves no function whatsoever. Is they can't find anything that sleep does. Scientists have studied and studied and studied. They can't conclusively figure out anything that sleep does. But here's my little pet theory. It's not based on any sort of science at all. But that what sleep does is it, when you're younger, it helps you to grow physically, your body to grow. And then you don't need it anymore. But your body still desires it because it had to desire sleep in when you were younger. So since sleep doesn't really hurt you, you continue that urge through your entire life, and it never ever ever goes away. So that's my theory on sleep. I just ruined my phone here. It's supposed to be waterproof, and I assume it is, but I pick at it, and its waterproofness, I believe, is now officially gone. It was gone a while back, but now I've just picked at something that makes it really, really... I would not trust... I didn't trust the waterproof at first at all. I wasn't about to take it underwater, even though I think it can go. Underwater. And I didn't get it because of that. I thought it looked cool. And what I was upset by is that there's no mid-range phone. You can either get the real cheap ones that are like old and a few generations back, and the really expensive new ones. Like the cheap ones are about $200, and the quote-unquote expensive ones are about $600, $800. I know there's much more expensive phones than $800. There's also much cheaper phones than $200, but in general, the expensive ones are $600 to $800, and the cheap ones are $200. And the expensive ones have stuff I don't need, and the cheap ones aren't good enough. But I found this one, a nice mid-range phone for about $400 that has, a nice mid-range stuff with enough memory and all that. And it's a good phone. So this is the only one I found that operates like that. They took that city. They did wind up taking that city, and the Egyptians are coming in. Oh, this is looking bad, isn't it? Well, let's see how it turns out. Find out next time on the same Civ time, same Civ channel. There's still a few seconds left that I have to kill. I should have timed that a bit better. I killed a unit. That's a nice place. Alright, see you later.